If you grew up in the 70s or 80s, you knew the theme song and every pratfall in that iconic Santa Monica apartment. But what aired on television was only half the story. Behind the laughs, ABC was quietly burying massive secrets. Today, we're going through Three's Company, 1977, 25 bizarre facts they tried to hide. Before we open the vault and expose the network's biggest cover-ups, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join the Comedalgia right now.
Your wife? My wife? She's coming up the stairs. My wife!
Your wife! You told me you lived with your mother!
The 1928 architectural deception. Behind the laugh tracks of Three's Company lies a 40-year-old architectural deception that ABC executives desperately wanted to keep buried. For exactly 174 episodes between 1977 and 1984, the network sold you on a bustling, multi-unit Santa Monica apartment complex. The reality? That iconic opening credits exterior was a private, single-family bungalow built in 1928, sitting quietly at 2912 4th Street, Santa Monica. ABC guarded this location so intensely that even author Chris Mann hit a dead end while researching his definitive 1998 book, Come and Knock on Our Door. The illusion was only shattered years later when an obsessed location hunter manually walked a 4-mile coastal grid until the 1920s stucco perfectly matched the screen. The indoor illusion was an even wilder corporate shell game. To slash overhead production costs, executives aggressively bounced the physical interior sets across 3 distinct Hollywood grids. Seasons 1, 7, and 8 were shot under tight budgets at Metro Media Square and ABC Television Center, while seasons 2 through 6 were packed up and taped entirely inside CBS Television, City's Studio 31. Every single time the production relocated, art directors had to perfectly reconstruct that 1970s kitchen, the iconic floral couch, and Mr. Roper's front door down to the exact millimeter to hide the reality shift from the audience.
Oh, here it is, and hurry up, I'm really starving.
The 1976 triple pilot cover-up. ABC didn't just greenlight Three's Company, they ruthlessly rejected it, forcing producers to burn through massive budgets to shoot 3 completely different pilots. The classified 1976 first pilot was entirely unrecognizable. John Ritter played a filmmaker named David Bell, living with actresses Valerie Curtin and Suzanne Zenor at a completely different apartment building called the Hacienda Palms. ABC killed it. For Pilot 2, they brought in Joyce DeWitt as Janet, but immediately fired the other roommate, Susan Lanier, right after filming. The multi-million-dollar franchise was only saved at the absolute last second. Just 24 hours before filming the third pilot in January 1977, producers frantically cast Suzanne Summers. That final cut aired on March 15, 1977, launching an empire that ABC almost permanently buried twice.
I've kept the plug in it ever since.
She could have fooled me. Well,
The 24-hour casting Khaleesi. Behind the flawless on-screen chemistry of Three's Company lies a massive, high-stakes network gamble. When cameras rolled on that final 1977 pilot, the 3 main stars were complete strangers. There were 0 table reads, 0 rehearsals, and 0 chemistry tests. Why? Because ABC executive Fred Silverman didn't approve the final roommate until less than 24 hours before the studio audience arrived. Producers desperately pulled a 30-year-old Suzanne Summers from a random audition tape based on minor bit parts in the Rockford Files. When they finally stepped onto the soundstage, it was a terrifying collision of 3 totally mismatched acting profiles. Joyce DeWitt held a rigorous Master of Fine Arts from UCLA. John Ritter was a seasoned television veteran with elite physical comedy instincts, and Summers was flying completely blind with 0 formal theatrical training. The 3 of them met literally minutes before the director yelled, "Action!" If that blind 0-hour chemistry had failed, the multi-million-dollar franchise would have been instantly terminated by the network.
Here's what we're all gonna go in together. We agree on that?
we agree on that.
All right,
that
let's
sounds
go.
Fair. Okay,
Go ahead.
fine. You guys go right.
The classified Billy Crystal audition. Before John Ritter cemented his legacy as Jack Tripper, ABC held highly confidential casting sessions that almost completely rewrote television history. A young, unknown stand-up comedian named Billy Crystal actually auditioned for the iconic lead role. Crystal was ultimately rejected alongside other young Hollywood hopefuls like Barry Van Dyke and Michael Lembeck. But the behind-the-scenes chaos didn't stop with the rejections. Just days before shooting the critical 1977 third pilot, Panic studio producers actively tried to fire John Ritter. They argued his elite, clownish physical comedy read as too effeminate for primetime audiences. It took network president Fred Silverman directly vetoing the board to save Ritter's job at the absolute last minute. In a wild twist of Hollywood fate, Billy Crystal had also just lost the audition for Fonzie on Happy Days to Henry Winkler. Missing out on two of the biggest 1970s cultural juggernauts forced Crystal onto a completely different trajectory, eventually landing him on the controversial sitcom Soap before he went on to bank massive box office hits like the 1989 classic When Harry Met Sally.
Make our relationship permanent. Well, she walked out on me and oh, Chrissy,
What did I miss? What did I miss?
The classified 1977 casting crossover. Before Suzanne Summers became a multi-million-dollar pop culture icon as Chrissy Snow, ABC executives quietly evaluated another massive Hollywood heavyweight in their closed-door 1977 casting sessions, Lonnie Anderson. Anderson fiercely pursued the roommate role, but was ultimately rejected by the network brass. But that single rejection radically altered the genetic makeup of two completely different sitcom empires. Just 1 year later, in 1978, Anderson was cast as the brilliant receptionist Jennifer Marlowe on WKRP in Cincinnati. Over the course of exactly 90 episodes, Anderson transformed that fallback role into an absolute television powerhouse, racking up 2 Emmy nominations and 3 Golden Globe nods for her performance. Had ABC handed her the keys to Three's Company instead, Suzanne Summers might never have been discovered, and the entire landscape of 1970s primetime television would have been completely rewritten.
Sleep in my own bed. I don't want another beer.
Would you like another beer?
Oh, yeah.
The classified 1977 Sesame Street Connectee. Behind the bouncy, lighthearted theme song of Three's Company lies a bizarre, hidden crossover with children's television and a devastating Hollywood tragedy. The iconic 1977 opening track wasn't produced by a standard prime-time sitcom factory. It was penned by Joe Raposo, the exact same musical mastermind who engineered the 1969 Sesame Street theme, The Electric Company, and the iconic Muppet track Being Green. For an entire decade, one single composer was secretly manipulating the soundtrack of both America's most wholesome educational mornings and its most scandalous prime-time adult comedies. But the genius who soundtracked billions of childhood television hours met a sudden and tragic end. In February 1989, just 72 hours before his 52nd birthday, Raposo tragically passed away from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He took his massive pop culture legacy to the grave, rarely receiving the mainstream industry recognition his multi-million-dollar catalog actually deserved.
The kisses are hers and his, Three's Company too.
The classified 1977 Audio Cove. Before the massive 1977 premiere of Three's Company, ABC executives pushed a disastrous, cost-cutting mandate. They forced the 3 lead actors John Ritter, Joyce DeWitt, and Suzanne Summers to physically sing the iconic Come and Knock on Our Door theme song themselves. Despite intense protests from the cast, the studio locked all 3 stars inside a recording booth. The resulting audio was a catastrophic, unusable failure. Associate producer Mimi Sewell bluntly stated the actors didn't even come close to hitting the notes, and legendary composer Joe Raposo had to permanently scrap the embarrassing tracks to save the show's dignity. Desperate to bury the disastrous vocal takes before the pilot aired, producers secretly hired 2 professional Los Angeles session musicians, Julia Rinker and a singer coincidentally named Ray Charles, no relation to the legendary soul icon, to go sing the final 60-second opening track. The original, tone-deaf cast recordings were permanently sealed away in the ABC audio vaults, never to be heard by the American public.
Hey, there was a rotten thing to do.
Yeah, rotten. Stop pretending you have a cold.
The zero-budget brunette deception? For years, millions of viewers watched Jack Tripper violently crash his bicycle in the opening credits, completely unaware they were staring right at a zero-budget Hollywood illusion. The mystery brunette in the short shorts who causes John Ritter's iconic 15-second opening wipeout wasn't a random Los Angeles background extra. To aggressively slash their bleeding pilot budget in early 1977, ABC producers flat-out refused to pay the daily union rate for a new actress. Instead, they slapped a dark brunette wig onto a 30-year-old Suzanne Summers and secretly threw her back in front of the camera to play her own alter ego. The studio kept the secret hidden in plain sight until John Ritter himself finally shattered the illusion, explicitly confirming the trick on tape by stating, "That brunette is Suzanne with a wig. You can tell by her little Suzanne buns." The network broadcast this deceptive, cost-cutting double-casting trick to over 20 million weekly viewers, and the American public never even noticed the scam.
That's my knee.
That's my hand.
This is my elbow.
The geographical opening credits deception. For years, ABC executives sold the American public a sun-drenched Santa Monica fantasy, but the iconic opening credits of Three's Company were actually a massive geographical shell game. Despite the sitcom supposedly taking place in the heart of Santa Monica, the famous early-season boardwalk footage wasn't filmed there at all. To avoid expensive permits and massive crowds, producers secretly shot the cast running and biking miles down the coast near Rose Avenue in Venice Beach. It wasn't until season 4 that the network finally coughed up the budget to shoot at the actual Santa Monica pier. But the geographical lies didn't stop there. When Priscilla Barnes joined the cast as Terry to film the show's final 70 episodes between 1981 and 1984, producers completely abandoned the ocean. They aggressively relocated the entire title sequence 15 miles inland, forcing the cast to shoot their physical comedy scenes at the Los Angeles Zoo in Griffith Park. Over the course of 8 seasons, ABC successfully manipulated 3 completely different California landscapes to maintain one single coastal illusion.
Excuse me.
Well, it was nice to meet you, and welcome to our building.
Thank you so much.
I know you're going to get along just fine with the girls.
6. The unscripted 1981 zoo accident. When ABC completely overhauled the opening credits in late 1981, a completely unscripted, behind-the-scenes accident permanently made it into the final broadcast. While filming the new title sequence at the Los Angeles Zoo, a rogue 2-year-old toddler in overalls wandered directly onto the active set and started feeding the goats next to actress Joyce DeWitt. Instead of yelling, "Cut," and burning expensive film, the director kept the cameras rolling. That anonymous toddler wasn't a hired child actor. It was Jason Ritter, the real-life son of series lead John Ritter. The toddler had quietly escaped his mother's watch off-camera, resulting in an accidental 5-second cameo that was broadcast to over 18 million weekly viewers for the next 3 years. That wandering child grew up to build his own massive Hollywood empire, landing major roles in NBC's Parenthood and voicing Dipper Pines in the 2012 animated juggernaut Gravity Falls. Despite making his national television debut in front of millions, Jason Ritter admits he has absolutely zero memory of the event.
I'm back.
Oh, ever since she's given up smoking, she doesn't know what to do with her hands. Yeah, well, nice seeing you, Mr. Roper.
The classified Santa Monica pub, Blueprints. Behind the swinging doors of the Regal Beagle lies a stolen architectural blueprint that ABC executives quietly ripped straight from the California coast. The iconic neighborhood pub wasn't just a random set thrown together by studio designers. Its entire visual DNA and layout were secretly copied from 2 highly specific, real-world Santa Monica dive bars. Producers quietly mapped the dimensions of Chez J, a notorious local hangout located at 1657 Ocean Avenue operating since 1959, and blended it with the British pub atmosphere of Ye Olde King's Head, located just blocks away at 116 Santa Monica Boulevard, established in 1974. In 1977, the Season 1 Beagle set was a cheap, bare-bones backdrop. But as the show's ad revenue skyrocketed into the millions, the network authorized a massive structural overhaul. By season 4, ABC had pumped serious production cash into a highly detailed redesign, turning the pub into a permanent secondary anchor for the show's final 100-plus episodes.
What do you got to say for yourself, huh? Huh?
Stanley, how did you get in?
How did I get in?
Our 14, the classified 1977 theater, Ransom. ABC didn't just casually hire the supporting cast for Three's Company, they used massive corporate funds to aggressively buy them out of pre-existing contracts. When piecing together the critical January 1977 third pilot, network executives became absolutely obsessed with securing veteran actress Audra Lindley for the role of the affection-starved landlady, Helen Roper. There was just one massive logistical roadblock. Lindley was already locked into a strict live performance contract at a Los Angeles playhouse. Instead of recasting the role or waiting for a scheduled day off, ABC executives authorized a brute force financial extraction. The network wired a staggering $8,000, equivalent to over $42,000 in modern 2026 currency, directly to the theater to completely shut down the entire venue for a single Sunday. They didn't bother asking for an understudy or a schedule change. They outright canceled the live performance, bought every single empty seat in the house, and pulled Lindley straight to the soundstage.
Reserved? Who for?
Well, for,
Oh, that's beautiful.
The classified Philadelphia blueprint. Actor Norman Fell completely bypassed the studio's creative process and quietly stole the character's entire psychological profile from a real-life civilian he knew growing up on the streets of Philadelphia. Fell explicitly modeled the landlord after a highly specific, delusional man from his past. According to Fell's own admission, this anonymous local was completely incompetent at basic mechanics and completely clueless with women, yet strutted around the city arrogantly, believing he was the cat's meow. This real-life blueprint was convinced he was incredibly attractive and flawlessly dressed, oblivious to the fact that people were actually laughing at him. For exactly 53 episodes before his controversial spin-off departure in 1979, Fell weaponized this stolen persona. He broadcast a devastating, hyper-accurate caricature of his old Philadelphia acquaintance to a massive audience of over 20 million Americans every single Tuesday night. To this day, there is absolutely zero historical record confirming if that real-life man ever realized his embarrassing personality was the engine behind a multi-million-dollar television empire.
We could have some chit-chat with him after your services tomorrow.
John Boy, perhaps you would be good enough to guide me.
How John Ritter erased his pa. Before Jack Tripper made John Ritter a multi-million-dollar household name, he was aggressively typecast by television executives in a completely opposite genre. From 1972 to 1977, Ritter spent exactly 18 episodes playing Reverend Matthew Fordwick on The Waltons, one of America's most aggressively wholesome prime-time dramas. The network transitioned into Jack Tripper, a bumbling culinary student faking a gay persona to bypass his landlord, was one of the biggest identity shifts in TV history. To completely shed his squeaky clean preacher image, Ritter engineered an entirely new physical vocabulary. He ditched the slow, deliberate movements of a reverend and built a chaotic, momentum-driven physical comedy style from scratch.
I'm almost asleep out here.
Oh, I'll be out of here in just a second.
Good.
How Barney Fife hijacked the shish. When ABC violently ripped Norman Fell and Audra Lindley from the cast in 1979 to launch the Ropers spin-off, Three's Company was left completely exposed without a landlord. To save their multi-million-dollar franchise from collapsing, producers executed a massive high-stakes casting hijack. They didn't hire an unknown character actor. They brought in a certified television titan. Don Knotts had already spent 11 years building an absolute comedy empire as Deputy Barney Fife on The Andy Griffith Show, quietly hoarding a staggering 5 Emmy Awards in the process. ABC weaponized Knotts' elite physical comedy instincts to save the series. They shoved the 55-year-old sitcom veteran into aggressively loud polyester leisure suits and unleashed him as the self-deluded, swaggering Ralph Furley. Knotts completely inverted the landlord role, replacing Roper's quiet suspicion with theatrical, misplaced arrogance. He flawlessly anchored the sitcom for its final 5 seasons, pulling off one of the most lucrative and successful cast replacements in prime-time television history.
Have a drink and just...
I don't want you to drink. I'll buy my own drinks. You keep away from me. And you too.
The secret 1979 spin-off Betrayal, when ABC executives aggressively pulled Norman Fell and Audra Lindley away from Three's Company in 1979 to launch their own spin-off, The Ropers. They made the actors a massive, off-the-books guarantee. The network promised that if the new series collapsed, their old jobs as the iconic landlords would be waiting for them. But ABC ruthlessly broke that deal. The Ropers tanked, getting permanently cancelled in 1980 after just 1.5 seasons. But when Fell and Lindley tried to cash in on the studio's safety net, they found the doors permanently locked. ABC had already handed the multi-million-dollar gig to sitcom titan Don Knotts and flat-out refused to honor the original agreement. Despite the secret promise, the original landlords were permanently exiled from the comedy empire they helped build.
Crying, that's the way I cry.
You really are a very strange person.
The classified one-episode anomaly. Richard Klein was never supposed to be a permanent fixture in the Three's Company universe. His character, the relentless playboy Larry Dallas, was originally contracted for exactly 1 single episode. But when test audiences went crazy for the character, ABC executives realized they had a goldmine. They quietly kept bringing him back, slowly upgrading his status until he hijacked a permanent spot in the main cast for all 8 seasons. While the rest of the show's stars were constantly engulfed in toxic, multi-million-dollar salary standoffs and bitter firings, Klein executed a flawless, drama-free survival strategy. By flying completely under the radar, he became the only actor other than John Ritter to successfully infiltrate all 3 iterations of the television franchise. Three's Company, The Ropers, and Three's a Crowd. A disposable, one-off side character quietly outlasted almost every single original star.
But thanks anyway. Come on,
Un momento, excusez-moi. Did you say the Sea Cliff? I hope you remember.
Classified triple identity scam. Long before he built a television empire on Arrested Development, Jeffrey Tambor executed a massive, multi-year identity scam right under the noses of the American public. Instead of paying for new guest stars, ABC executives secretly recycled Tambor to play 3 completely different characters across the lifespan of Three's Company. First, he infiltrated the cast as Winston Cromwell III, a wealthy snob aggressively pursuing Chrissy. Then, he completely altered his identity to play Dr. Tom Miller, a psychiatrist hilariously mistaken for a mental patient. Finally, he reappeared in later seasons as Dr. Philip Green, a dentist trying to romance Terry. Producers arrogantly assumed their massive audience of over 20 million weekly viewers would be too oblivious to notice the exact same actor, constantly returning with completely different names, lives, and professions. They broadcast this blatant, cost-cutting casting loop for years, and almost no one connected the dots.
For the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Just try to break it to her gently, Janet.
Me?
Yeah.
Wait, what? How come you're not going to tell her?
Oh, I wouldn't do it right.
Why not?
The unscripted police hat Deception. Before dominating the television industry, a young John LaRoquette pulled off a brilliant, unscripted stunt to steal prime-time screen space right under the director's noses. During the Season 3 episode, Jack Moves Out, LaRoquette was hired for a tiny, fast-paced cameo as a police officer. ABC directors explicitly designed the under-a-minute scene so his police cap would remain firmly on his head, essentially keeping his face completely anonymous. But LaRoquette refused to be a nameless background extra. He secretly rigged his own wardrobe, writing his character's lines, the Miranda rights, directly onto the inside brim of his hat. When the cameras started rolling, he deliberately ripped the hat off his head to read the hidden script, aggressively forcing his face into the national broadcast. The outplayed producers left the hijacked take in the final cut. Just a few years later, in 1984, LaRoquette would use that exact same ruthless confidence to secure his iconic role on Night Court, quietly hoarding a staggering 4 consecutive Emmy Awards between 1985 and 1988. He saw a microsecond of prime-time real estate and completely stole it.
But I love my
roses, Jack. I've raised them up from tiny cuttings, nursed them through budhood, and...
The classified 4-week exile. Richard Klein's Larry Dallas was one of the most reliable comedic weapons on Three's Company. But the actor quickly discovered just how ruthlessly ABC producers controlled their multi-million-dollar set. During a standard production run-through, Klein committed a single, seemingly harmless offense. He quietly stated, "I'd like to discuss my character." He didn't demand a massive salary bump. He didn't show up late or throw a Hollywood tantrum. Yet the producers' retaliation was instantaneous and absolute. They immediately stripped Klein from the upcoming scripts, aggressively erasing his character from the national broadcast for exactly 4 straight weeks. It was a brutal, off-the-books warning shot from a studio notorious for crushing actor rebellions. After serving his mandatory 1-month suspension, Klein quietly returned to the soundstage, permanently kept his head down, and successfully survived the rest of the show's 8-season run without ever asking another question.
Don't be silly. You're like a breath of fresh air. My brother's parties are always so full of phonies.
Your brother? David?
Lucille Ball's secret obsession with Jack Tripper. Lucille Ball, the untouchable pioneer behind the massive Raw I Love Lucy empire, completely rejected the critics. She recognized exactly what John Ritter was doing. He was brilliantly hijacking the exact same physical comedy architecture and escalating farce that she had engineered decades earlier. Ball was such an obsessed fan of Ritter's frantic slapstick that she personally stepped into the spotlight to host the show's massive 1982 retrospective special. Having the greatest physical comedian in television history publicly validate Jack Tripper's chaos wasn't just a minor compliment, it was the ultimate Hollywood endorsement. The exact same brilliant comedy engine that powered Lucy Ricardo's iconic schemes in the 1950s was secretly driving Jack Tripper's multi-million-dollar empire into the 1980s.
Brother, would you calm down? That's your last big deep breath. You're not making any sense. Deep breaths. That's it.
The classified 3-year contract trap. When Priscilla Barnes officially joined the cast in season 6 to play Terry Alden, it looked like the ultimate Hollywood jackpot. But behind the scenes, her multi-million-dollar promotion was actually a psychological nightmare. In a bombshell 2002 interview, Barnes completely shattered the sitcom's happy illusion, publicly confessing that her time on Three's Company was the worst 3 years of her entire professional life. Once she realized how toxic the environment was, she desperately tried to quit. But ABC network executives ruthlessly locked her into an ironclad contract and refused to let her walk away.
I said I was sorry.
Yeah, well, I said meow, meow.
Well, I
Well, meow, meow.
The 30-year sitcom Cold War. In 1981, the most toxic salary dispute in television history permanently shattered the Three's Company cast. Suzanne Summers demanded a massive pay bump from $30,000 to $150,000 per episode to match co-star John Ritter, plus a 10% cut of the show's massive profits. ABC executives didn't just say no, they executed a brutal, psychological exile. Instead of firing her outright, producers completely isolated Summers from the production. For her final episodes, she was forced to film brief closing scenes on a completely empty soundstage on completely different days. She was physically cut off from Ritter, Joyce DeWitt, and the rest of the crew. When her contract finally bled out, she aggressively sued the network for $2 million, but ultimately walked away with a measly $30,000 settlement.
Plain water.
Jack, that isn't funny. Look what you did to her dress.
Yeah, you ruined it.
That was
$150 million network accident. The network originally expected the critically trashed sitcom to vanish after just 6 episodes. Instead, it launched a hostile takeover of primetime. By the 1979 to 1980 season, it had aggressively crushed absolute network juggernauts like Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley to become the #1 highest-rated comedy on American television. The show ultimately survived for 8 seasons and a massive 172 episodes, but the real financial shockwave happened off-network. In 1982, 2 full years before the series, even Wrapped executives locked down a staggering syndication deal that reportedly shattered the $150 million mark. From TBS in 1992 to Nick at Night in 2000, to Antenna TV in 2011, this doomed filler show has now been in continuous, highly profitable circulation for nearly 5 decades.
Where?
I'm going down to meet Brenda.
Why?
I don't care why. It's none of your business.
Dad!
You're getting on my nerves.
The unscripted 10-minute production halt? Despite holding a massive television empire with 5 Emmy Awards and 11 years of dominance on The Andy Griffith Show, comedy titan Don Knotts was secretly terrified when he joined the cast of Three's Company. Why? Because the legendary actor had never actually performed in a 3-camera sitcom in front of a live studio audience. His previous work as Barney Fife was entirely single-camera, shot on a closed set, and safely edited in post-production. Knotts walked onto the Three's Company soundstage completely out of his depth and paralyzed by genuine stage fright. But the moment the live crowd spotted him, they completely derailed the production. Before Knotts could even speak his very first line as the swaggering Ralph Furley, the audience erupted into a staggering 10-minute standing ovation. That massive wall of sound instantly vaporized his anxiety, allowing him to seamlessly anchor the sitcom as it marched toward a massive 8-season, 172-episode legacy. Critics and angry parent groups aggressively tried to destroy the series before the first episode even aired. Instead, it became an untouchable, multi-million-dollar comedy juggernaut that has never left the airwaves. Want to uncover the massive, hidden secrets behind television's biggest legends? Hit that subscribe button and join the Comedalgia channel right now.